Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
We are doctors
and weight management and metabolic health experts.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast. Hello, lovely friend. Dr. Mary here, joined by the fabulous Dr. Lucy. Together we are Real Life Medicine. How are you, Dr. Lucy?
I am fabulous. Thank you for asking, Dr. Mary. I am. You know, I think some days I'm not fabulous and I tend to just say great or good anyway. So you don't always, when people ask you how are you, you don't necessarily want to tell them, oh, well, I'm a bit tired, I'm a bit overwhelmed, I had a crappy night's sleep, I feel shit. You don't really necessarily want to say that. So sometimes we just answer with, yeah, good. But no, I am feeling very, very good this week. We usually record well and truly in advance of our episodes being released. And this time we're cutting it a little bit close. But I think the thing is that we've just started this round of the 12-week mind-body rebalance. It's my favorite thing to see new people coming in, getting excited, seeing the hope in their, in their posts and all those sorts of things. So I guess, surrounding yourself with hopeful people is, to use a slightly cringy word, uplifting.
Definitely. It has a beautiful aura of a lovely fresh start, doesn't it? Embarking on something together. I love it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought it's a good time then to talk about, some mindset things. And, it's so interesting. Even in my clinic, people like to come and talk to us, or they like to turn up when things are going well. And I understand that because humans love some feedback, some positive feedback, a bit of a pat on the back, yay, great, yay. And when things aren't going well, then there is the tendency to either not show up or to run away or to, and again, if you're having medical appointments, you might postpone the appointment or cancel the appointment. And the interesting thing is that that's often when people need us the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I had an exercise physiology appointment last week, and I'd seen them a month before, but for the first 2 weeks of the month in between, I got sick, the kids got sick, and I had all these exercises to sort of do some rehab on my hip. And, for 2 weeks, I didn't do very much of it at all. And so I only had like 2 weeks of rehab under my belt, and I really wanted to cancel it. I just wanted to run away and hide, but I didn't. I turned up, fessed up to how I'm, 2 weeks further away from where I should be. And of course, it was fine and extremely helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's our tendency when we feel like we're not doing it well enough, we're not doing it good enough, we're not being perfect enough, that we will do nothing.
And I think this is a very common feeling that people have is overwhelm. Overwhelm can hit us in all aspects of our lives, but I think it's particularly common in the field of health. And Lucy, we were debating, we're going to talk about weight loss overwhelm, or we're going to talk about health overwhelm. And because we have a love-hate relationship with the term weight loss, don't we? Because we're not really about weight loss as much as we are about health and metabolic health. And then that healthy weight loss you get as a happy side effect of metabolic health. But even if we're talking about metabolic health here and the steps we can take to be metabolically healthy and full of energy, be a healthy fat burner, and just taking those steps can seem overwhelming. And addressing the overwhelm is an important place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So, overwhelm is often when our brains, it's juggling all the balls. It's got so many things on. It flits between what it should be doing, what it could be doing, what's important. Sometimes it doesn't even have a great handle on what's important. Everything seems important. And so two things can happen. Either the things that are about, you, the person, they get put down the list because, other people's priorities seem more important. Or alternatively, when we are overwhelmed, we often do nothing, because everything feels hard. So you do nothing. Procrastination sneaks in. You start scrolling on whatever phone, or you start, some people will do what I love to call noble procrastination, which is where they start, cleaning the house or something. So it's not useless stuff, but it's perhaps not actually a priority really, particularly around their health.
And this emotional and mental overload, it can affect anyone, but it is particularly common in women, that women experience high rates of overwhelm due to the unique, societal pressures, family pressures, work pressures that we face. Certainly I struggle with intermittent overwhelm. I think that everybody, most women do. I think it's a really, really common experience. And I reckon it's important to, first of all, to sort of normalize it. These feelings are normal. We shouldn't feel shame around moments of overwhelm or indeed, entire seasons of overwhelm. It's not a shameful thing, and attaching stigma to it is only going to make it worse. So I think it's good to try and encourage some open conversation about it. But it is hard. Like I said, how are you today, Lucy? Like, I'm good. But if you were completely drowning in, emotional overwhelm and mental overwhelm, you might have still said, yeah, I'm good. So we don't necessarily open up about it all that often.
No, because I think sometimes the phrase of inverted commas, they're not coping, that implies that there is some failing with the person. So the person's not coping, rather than looking at perhaps their environmental stressors and the load that they're carrying. So not all people carry the same load. And the phrase, the straw that broke the camel's back, is never more true than with people who are carrying big mental loads and then something else just tips them over. And it's not that they're weak or hopeless. I mean, they're carrying an enormous load. And then it's just one little thing and you feel like your whole life's unraveling. Again, when I say you feel like it may be that your whole life's not unraveling, but it can feel like that.
Absolutely. We start zoning in on the negative and focusing on all the things that we're doing wrong or all the things that are going wrong. And I reckon in the sphere of health and healthy change, there's additional reasons why women feel overwhelmed. There's a lot of conflicting health information out there. A lot of it's confusing. A lot of it's contradictory. Diet culture, decades and decades of diet culture has put pressure on us, has created anxiety about food choices, anxiety about body image, which just adds layers of complexity, add layers of shame and guilt and self-blame that are often perpetuated by diet culture.
Yeah, absolutely, which is, again, the reason why, we have a love-hate relationship with the phrase weight loss, because for many people that's embedded in the whole, fabric of diet culture is, weight loss at any cost, thin is best, that you're only valuable if you're thin. That messaging is so far from what we believe and what we teach and how we practice, but it can trigger that for other people. So when, if we talk about weight loss, they think that, again, around thinness. And I think it's really important to recognize that all of us, we talk about diet trauma, diet culture trauma, we're all vulnerable to it. We are all vulnerable to it. And this is particularly so when you are overwhelmed, because your brain just goes to the fact that you're failing, that you're hopeless at everything. And now look, on top of all of this, my brain used to say, and on top of all of this, you're fat. So, what good are you?
Yeah, absolutely. My brain does that too sometimes. I still fall into that trap. Those stories, having lived my whole life, sort of, battling my weight to some degree, has made these stories pretty deeply entrenched, that thinness is associated with worth. And although the voices are much more quiet now, they're still there, and they're much more likely to rear their ugly head when I'm already overwhelmed, when my brain is already, well, everything is going so badly. You're already doing such a terrible job. Oh, and look, there's another thing that you're doing terrible. So it can be so much easier to engage in those healthy mindset habits when things are going well, but harder when things aren't going well. And so if you feel like you're drowning, if you feel like you're overwhelmed, what can you do?
Well, it's interesting. What our brain wants to do is it wants to run away and hide. And, we often teach this beautiful, it's a picture of a grizzly bear hiding behind a tiny, tiny tree, and it thinks it's hiding, and our brain does that. So it stops engaging in anything. It doesn't want to go for a walk because, in its mind, it'll go, well, a walk's not worthwhile unless you're doing a proper walk. So don't bother just going halfway down the end of the driveway. That's not going to do anything. And so it'll talk you out of doing anything. So we kind of run away and hide. So what we want to do is go, okay, just being aware of that. Our brain does it because it keeps us safe. So there's some logic to it, but it's just not that helpful. So we know that momentum begins like everything, and it sounds like a cliche, but with the first step. So doing something is helpful. And so I do love the phrase, it's an oldie, another oldie, but a goodie. Something is better than nothing. And it truly is. Progress over perfection, and don't let perfection be the enemy of good. We need to be reminding ourselves of those sorts of phrases, because sometimes once we start something that's manageable, that's easy, that's almost a no-brainer, well, then you can layer it when you're ready. You don't have to even have a timeline on it.
Yep. This is exactly right. This is working with your brain when your brain feels overloaded, just starting with something small. And it can be tiny. I mean, neuroscience, it shows us that even just a small, tiny, consistent little habit that we're able to do consistently, we don't have to do it perfectly, just consistently, it starts to build new neural pathways. And then with those new neural pathways, it becomes easier to maintain. So like tiny little steps, tiny little habits that we start now are far more easy to maintain than drastic overhauls. Drastic overhauls don't generally tend to work. So something small, even if it feels trivial, it can still create that momentum that you discussed. And then that momentum helps to change our brain. It helps create the ripple effects that then we're able to do the next little change when we're ready, and then the next little change. So practical tiny steps are good. And if you're really drowning, maybe you just need to grab onto some sort of metaphorical, life vest and just hang on to it for a while and just float on that until you can find your feet on the sand again. And I think it could be good, Lucy, to talk about what are the metaphorical life vest that you could grab onto, or what are some practical little tiny steps that you could try?
Yeah, so I think we can give you a list of options, and then what I would recommend is that you go with the immediate one that sounds the easiest.
Yes,
so whatever your brain suddenly latches onto and goes, yeah, I think I could do that. Not what you think you should do or what would be the best or what would be the most effective, but what is going to be the easiest for you. So it could be something like, having your cup of tea or your cup of coffee outside in the morning, getting a little bit of morning sunlight into your eyeballs to reset your circadian rhythm and help manage your underlying cortisol, melatonin. Okay, for some people that might be easy. For other people, they might be going, oh my God, you've got no idea, Lucy. I live in Tasmania and it's negative 20 degrees every morning. I'm not doing that. In which case you go, okay, don't do that. So that's one idea. What's an idea from you, Mez?
Think protein. And just the first meal of the day, whenever that is, if it's 6 a.m. or 12 p.m. or whenever, for the first meal of the day, just put the protein first. Think about protein for your first meal of the day. You don't necessarily have to count it. You don't have anything, but just put protein first. And that is a great way to start supporting your satiety and your metabolic health.
Absolutely. And so for me at the moment, I've made them up in advance. And again, you don't have to if you're overwhelmed, don't worry. But, even the night before. So I put some yogurt. I've got this, it's so interesting. It's not high protein yogurt, but it actually has a lot of protein in it because it's a Chobani yogurt. It's made with some milk solids. So it's got some extra protein in it. So it's not kind of completely enhanced or anything. So it's a Chobani yogurt. I add a few, tablespoon of chia seeds in it. I put some frozen berries in it, which melt overnight, and stir all that up. It's just plopped in a jar and then that's ready. And it gives me, it's not a savory breakfast. Again, I know we've got evidence around savory breakfasts, but it's an easy breakfast and doesn't have to be perfect. And then in the morning, I'll fling in a few walnuts, which are my current thing at the moment, and good to go.
Beautiful. I love it. For me, I'm a big fan of leftover dinner for breakfast. It's just already cooked and I'll just heat it up. That would not suit everybody, but it suits me.
Yes.
Mornings are busy in my life.
Yeah, which is an interesting, and this is a side topic, but we did do a couple of posts, and we probably need to reinvigorate this once on Kellogg's in America started promoting cereal for dinner as a way to increase their cereal sales. And it was like, great, breakfast. So instead of brekkie for dinner, we're doing dinner for brekkie.
We are, yep. Swapping that around.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right. That is a great, easy option if you've got leftovers.
What's another one, Lucy? Another little tiny practical step.
Yeah. So for me, going to bed at a reasonable time, So whenever I'm a little bit stressed or overwhelmed, my brain wants to just comfort watch Netflix or comfort watch some telly. So that's okay. And in the olden days, like before streaming services, there wasn't a lot of choice. So you watched your show, and if the next show that came on was not of your interest, it was sort of a good punctuation point to go to bed. Whereas now, of course, you can watch your shows and they just automatically loop over, and you suddenly realize you've said you're going to watch one show and you've watched 4 and it's now midnight, and you drag your sorry ass to bed. And, you know, at some stage in there, you were sort of thinking I should go to bed, but you're almost too tired to go. I used to have this wish that I had some sort of magic carpet that would just bundle me up and plop me into bed.
Yep. I've had that before. Too tired to move. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, you know, for me, when I realize that's happening, I do a couple of things. I actually get ready before I watch the show. So I'll go and, you know, do my nighttime routine, which for me is usually slapping on a bit of HRT and some, put on my pajamas and then brush my teeth. Then I'll go and sit down, and then I have an alarm. And again, you know, sometimes I'm good at that and every now and then I'm not, but at least it's something, because I do know that going to bed is a gift to my future self, and my future self is the next day self, not, you know, the future self in 20 years.
Yeah. Yep. Future Lucy thanks you.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. I reckon another really simple thing, if you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure of where to start, is to do some kind of active relaxation. And this can be tricky, because if your brain is stressed and overwhelmed, it's not going to want to relax, because at some level, the stressed and overwhelmed brain, with that activated fight or flight response, at some level deep in your brain, if you're stressed, you literally believe that your life is in danger. You might not consciously think that, but the deeper emotional part of your brain literally believes that, and believes that it literally believes it has to be hypervigilant, you know, and scanning around looking for the threat, looking, how can I keep myself safe? How can I keep my children safe? How can I stop ourselves from being harmed? And that's churning away in the back of your mind, which is, of course, really in itself very overwhelming. But just taking a few minutes to break that cycle as best you can. Like if you relax 1 out of 10, that's still a victory. You know, you don't have to reach this sort of beautiful, you know, nirvana-like state. But a few minutes of an active relaxation practice, like deep breathing, a short meditation, some mindfulness, or what we love, a little hypnosis session, it's got all those beautiful added benefits, can help sort of reset the nervous system, can help send signals of safety from your conscious brains and signals of safety down to that emotional brain. And it can just dial it down. And that has huge benefits for your mindset, even huge benefits for your metabolism, benefits for your sleep. Like it has a beautiful sort of flow-on effect. So and a few minutes a day can really make an impact. So that's one that I love. Lucy, what are like some easy ways that people could get some relaxation into their day?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I mean, the thing I like about hypnosis is that because part of the process of hypnosis is to actively relax each muscle group, for example, there's the concept of the top-down approach to relaxation and the bottom-up approach. So the bottom-up is where you use your muscles, like you're starting with your body and you're relaxing the body. And when the body is relaxed, again, as you mentioned, it sends really powerful signals to the brain that I'm safe, I'm okay, because, you know, nobody who's standing in front of a lion decides to, you know, relax all their muscles. And nobody who's standing in front of a lion decides just to, you know, pat themselves gently on the arm, which are all the things that we do to reassure people, reassure ourselves. So I think that, yes, a muscle relaxation component is really helpful. And as you said, if you're then inclined to tie it in with a hypnosis, well, that's like winning twice, because you've got then these lovely positive suggestions into the subconscious mind that are helping you, that are really powerful, even though your logical brain will go, yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
That's right, yes. In hypnosis, your logical brain, your thinking brain is still there. It's still aware of what's going on as you enter this lovely relaxed state, but it's just sort of put on the shelf for a moment. And when it's put on the shelf, it means that the lovely relaxation and also those beautiful positive suggestions can embed in your subconscious, and you can use the power of your subconscious to start to change those neural pathways. So it's lovely. And we've got a free hypnosis that you guys could listen to if you want to give it a go. Lucy and I are both medical hypnotherapists. We love hypnosis. We bonded, I think, over hypnosis. We both discovered we'd done the same hypnosis training, not together, but at different times. So, hypnosis is a big part of our story. And yeah, you can get that on our website, rlmedicine.com/nurture. And we'll put the link in the show notes as well.
Indeed. Yeah, and I think, again, it comes back to, at the end of the day, health comes down to two things. We want really good metabolic health that affects so many systems in our body, around insulin resistance, around bone health, around muscle health, all of that, brain health. That's all part of metabolic health. So we want really good metabolic health. And sometimes in order to have that, we need some help with our mindset management, because our brain, whilst it at many levels is trying to keep us safe, it's often trying to use primitive techniques in our modern society, and they don't necessarily match up. And so we sometimes need some help with managing that as well. So metabolism, mindset, that's where it's at.
Yes. All right, wonderful people, wherever you are, I hope that you can feel a little bit less overwhelmed and keep moving forward towards beautiful health and fabulous, calm mindset and wonderful metabolic health.
Absolutely. So you can live your glory years feeling glorious.
Love it.
All right, hotties, we will catch up with you next week. Take good care. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.